Okie doke. Okay, so we were talking about this merge request here, yeah?
Absolutely.
All right.
Always helpful if I give you a tiny bit of context.
Please,
Or
please do. I will.
so a lot of pre-work required on this one. Essentially, we've been recording or presenting the option to record time tracking against issues and merge requests for a long time,
Okay.
but you can't really do anything with that data. So this is kind of a real MVC, I guess, in terms of pulling out a real basic report against issuables to dump the time log data. So
Okay.
the GraphQL kind of stuff, again, there's a pre-work to do in the back end, but that's predominantly done. This MR is, as you can see, quite basic, but get some of the data out. And we're at a point now where we want to add a bit of error handling and put some specs together.
Very cool. And I am exceedingly glad that Natalia is on this call because I never, ever touch Apollo, like ever. Not in
That's
my.
why I'm here. We've been working a bit with Lee today
Okay.
on improving the front-end component. I think it's in a really good shape now. So basically what we want to test here, and I was sharing this with Lee as well, so sorry for repetition. This component basically displays the time tracking, the table with the time tracking.
Sure.
And we need to check if there is, I'm not sure if loading state is implemented. It should be implemented. If it's not. Second is like we're gonna test if there is an error thrown, if the query is rejected. And basically we want to mock Apollo client in our test and check how loading state is displayed, how results are rendered, and if error is thrown. So basically 3 main cases for us.
Awesome. Let's get to it.
If you never mocked Apollo client, we have guidelines on these, on front-end development guidelines.
Natalia, I've never used Apollo client. I'm so glad that I am driving.
There is so many things for you to learn.
Yes.
and to rant about as well. No worries.
All right, cool. So we've got, I'm assuming there's already a spec started for this somewhere, hopefully.
Yeah, so I think if you search for report spec, it's also made me think my component might need a bit of a name change, but
reports. I have time tracker spec. That's not the one we were talking about.
No, time tracker spec is the component on the right hand side on the sidebar. But if you look, there should be.
I got you. There he is.
Bingo. So
okay.
Yeah, I've got rid of some of the monotony of throwing together, creating a file and importing a couple of the basic bits. But
yeah, that's very helpful. You saved me a bit of boilerplate here. Oops.
So let's start with a real basic question for Natalia, I guess. Do we think that shallow mount will do everything we need it to do?
Yes, we always use, this is my personal opinion, not stated in the guidelines. So we need shallow mount.
But what I realized I didn't use is the extended wrapper. So if
I don't like extended wrapper.
Okay, great. Anyway. And we haven't got any data test IDs implemented on anything yet anyway. So I think that's the only function it currently provides. So no worries.
It's a great boilerplate. So I think we can start from this.
Yeah, and I totally agree with Natalia. Don't pull in extra stuff until you absolutely need it. So I like to pull up this. It's gonna get a little cramped, and I apologize, but I want to be able to see your code side by side. Like, oh no, this is a brand new one, so I can just open it directly. Never mind. We'll do it that way.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it's a brand new component.
Okay, and this we will open up side by side.
Sweet.
Okay, and so Natalia, could you kindly say one more time the 3 use cases we want to cover. I'm going to put them in comments just so I don't have to ask you 100 times.
So let's check if loading state is rendered properly after component mount.
Okay. Okay.
Then second, let's check that on successful call, we have correct results and render them correctly.
Okay.
I mean, correct results we assert. So we just need to make sure that with successful response, we have a correct rendered template.
Okay.
And then we
one.
need to check if the query is rejected for some reason, that there is a flash, that there is an error thrown, let's say so.
Gotcha. Rejected.
Probably create flash, but I need to check the component, how it's implemented.
Yeah, I haven't actually put anything in yet, but
if it's not implemented, we will implement it. No worries.
Awesome.
Okie dokie. So loading first. So fortunately, having never used Apollo, it does look relatively straightforward. I've read our docs. I've tinkered with it on the side, but never actually used. So I think this is going to be a lot of people watching Natalia teach me how to use Apollo, which is awesome because she's a wonderful teacher.
Teaching the group, and that's why we're recording as well. So.
Okay.
So let's check the template. And I see that there is a loading spinner there. Yep, yes. There is it. And as you can see, there is a computed property. So a quick introduction to mocked Apollo client. Mm-hmm. So in our tests, we want to have a real client mocked, and we will define the query handler for it, like we do with mock Axios. Basically, we're saying to the client, if you have this query, you will respond with this data. And when we're mounting the component, you can scroll up on the right side just to see the Apollo property. So if you have this Apollo property in the component, that means that component will start the query in the created hook. So when component is created, query is started. If there is no skip, but that's like a bit deeper, basically, if you have Apollo, it starts on the created. That's why when you mount the component in your test, without any additional things with mocked client, it will be in the loading state. So let's add mocked client. And because we want to teach people, we will open our guidelines and just follow them. Yes. Also, this will enlighten what is not clear from the guidelines, right? Because there were many people changing them after I introduced. So I think right now it's not that clear.
Sure.
See how I'm blaming my colleagues about wasting the result of my work. But let's go to our front-end ones. Yeah. And on the right side, there is testing. Yes, there is lots of documentation, but there is also testing. And we want to go, yes, with mocked Apollo client. So there is a few code snippets and we can start following them.
Awesome. Create local view. Is this still the correct guidance? Are we not removing this?
Yes, Justin. Unfortunately, in our case, we are not able to use global view object when we want to use view Apollo. It requires a local view. I think this is one of the very few cases where we need local view.
Roger that. For those of you listening at home, there's an initiative to clean up our test cases. And one of them is getting rid of create local view because we don't need it anymore.
I mean, it was a long time initiative. I think a long time ago when I discovered that view test utils docs just give us the example of creating local view and they're not using it further. And yeah, it was like hundreds of unnecessary local view in our tests.
Oh, but you're saying we do need that when we're using Apollo?
Yes, right. Yes, because it's a global plugin and we do this local view use view Apollo, which adds $ Apollo to the view instance that we need.
Okay.
All right, so I'm cheating, just copying and pasting. Ignore me. Why type if you don't have to? So we need to create mock Apollo from something.
I would say that we can skip this function. In our case, it will be much easier for us. So what we can do here in our spec, we definitely still need to local view use view Apollo. We can add it right there to the describe. Right after you created local view, just add local view use view Apollo. Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Got you. Use. Do I need to import view Apollo as well?
Yes, we need to import it.
All right. I don't think in my life I have ever typed the word from correctly the first time.
Too many forms in your life, probably.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny.
Well, I'm blessed with the surname Ticket spelled incorrectly, so I can't write the
No,
word
it's your,
ticket.
it's your apology.
There's a view Apollo
Just
by itself. Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes, and it's a default import, not a named one. Mhm.
Roger that. Go away.
Yep, this is correct.
Awesome.
One more thing we need to import, and we can switch to guidelines back to copy paste it,
Sure.
will be our helper, because we need our helper for creating the mock client. So just
Okay.
tab to the guidelines. I don't remember it by heart. I'm sorry.
I was gonna ask you.
You need to copy paste it. It's a bit below, even more below.
Oh, there it is.
Where is our, yeah, there is our helper.
Oops.
Will this become even easier? I've seen that Paul and Nathan have been working on some super duper fake Apollo data generator. Have you seen that?
Not yet.
Ah, all in good time.
It's good to abstract things, but sometimes I think we fall into that trap of over abstraction, and then it's not flexible. So I'm a bit suspicious about all the extended wrappers and all the abstracted things, but okay. So what we want to do here. So first of all, what is create mock Apollo doing? And what it does accept, the most important part. I mean, here it's a bit over abstracted in the docs, as you can see, with all the create Apollo function and whatnot. What we want to do, we want to pass there a parameter, which is array of arrays. I'm sorry, it is. And every single child array should be a pair of the query and the resolver. If you scroll down a bit, I think we will have an example to check. Yeah, there is request handlers a bit down again.
Sure.
So you can see that there are request handlers here, and we are passing them to create mock Apollo.
Cool.
So in our particular case, we will have one request handler because we only have one query. And we want to pass this handler to our create component factory. So this is for sure because we will be changing it. We will be making successful response mode and error. So let's go back to our test and let's add first few more imports. First import will be importing the same query we're using in the component. So on your right side, yes, we will need to go to sidebar constants.
This one here.
We will need to open it as well.
Sure. There
are two different queries there. Let's start with testing just one for now. And from it, you will need, it's a crazy amount of imports there, Justin.
What's that?
So we need, in this particular case, we are working with time tracking. So we will need to copy paste the import of the get issue time tracking something from the constants.
Okay.
So let's search there for time tracking. Time logs. Oh yeah, there is time logs.
Time logs.
Yes.
There we go.
So you need to copy paste the whole import from there.
Oh, good.
Awesome.
That's a heck of an import statement.
I know, right? So this is the first thing. And we will need to define a response for this one. Usually, if there are many queries, we create a response in some kind of mock data, but we can just define a constant right here before the first describe for the response. So you can name it whatever. A successful
do you want to, what do you
Whatever. Just
There you
I'm
go.
very bad. I'm very bad in naming.
And so is this
Oh,
going to be
yeah.
our array of arrays? Like,
It's gonna. So what we're
Like
gonna
that?
do? No, array of arrays will be a bit further. Right
Okay.
now, we want to mock exactly the shape of the response we have from the API. That's why you would need to open the query, and we will write a correct response for this one.
okay. Yeah. I
I
guess
mean,
I'm.
If
the
you
best
want
way
to
to-
shortcut, I could possibly, I've got a query that I've run on my machine. Fine if we want
Yeah.
to jump through those hoops, but if
Sure.
you want, I can send you a.
Yeah, just send the correct successful response, and we can just copy paste it here. Would be
please.
faster.
I say that, and now I've got to find the right window. This one here, this one here. I hope. Can't even find the chat screen.
It's okay. It's Zoom. It's the second you get on Zoom, you can't do anything right anymore.
Yeah, it's like it's live demo.
Exactly.
That's what happens usually.
Got an annotate option. Anyone have any chat down the bottom? Right, let's see if okay, for a start it looks like it's truncating it if I send it. So maybe on Slack might work.
Sure.
Hopefully.
Yeah, you should be able to paste it as a snippet in Slack as large as you want.
Yep.
Hope I've sent you the right thing. I'm sure we can truncate. I'm sure we can.
You can create a snippet definitely on GitLab and just share the link.
Oh, that's exciting. I've never done that before. New snippet on the project, or is it a personal snippet that I want?
It's a personal snippet. I think just don't make it private, make it public so we could access.
New snippet. So annoyingly, the response isn't prettified, but I'm hoping you can prettify.
I think it will be prettified on Justin's ID.
Excellent.
Worst case, we will prettify manually.
That's right. I have a tab key. We can make it work.
Okay, public.
Snippets application is mutating props, by the way. I'm sorry to say this. I discovered this yesterday.
So
awesome.
You know what I've gone and done? I've just created it on my self-hosted GitLab instance.
Nice.
Brilliant.
Oh, okay.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Time log response. Time log response. Public. And hopefully this will be a link that everyone can see, but we shall find out in a minute.
Oh, there we go.
In that amount of time, I'm sure you could have got up GraphQL Explorer, written the query, and got the response. But
no worries. I think it's like
saying that. I think that if you are going to want to, you're going to have to put some fake time logs into GDK anyway, because I suspect you won't have any in your database.
Yeah, that's a JSON response, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, hold on. Let me clean it up real quick.
Oh, really nice.
Beautiful.
So let's add it to our. Yeah, it's a bit large, but we don't really care about it.
Yeah, we can trim it down later.
But open it, please, so I can see that we are doing. Yes, this is correct. We can actually convert it to GraphQL object. So removing the top level array, we will only need an object here, not an array, I think. So yeah, and we can remove the strings. So this should be actually an object. not a
Oh,
string
okay.
for us.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, I think right now it's gonna be pretty hard on the save.
Why is it?
Why it's complaining?
That... There we go.
Oh yeah, perfect. Awesome.
Cool. Okay.
Not sure we would need all the type names, but for now, let's leave them where they are. We can always do a cleanup later.
Sure.
So what we're gonna do now, first of all, we want to pass actually a handler. So let's go to our create component function. Oh, you know how it's called, mount component. I always call it create component. So
Yeah, me too.
and so we have props right now, right? And right after props, let's add one more property to our object we're going to pass. Let's call it query handler. We have only one query, so this should be fine. And query handler by default, let's make it just a fun. Just a fun, yeah, mock resolved value. Resolved, not result.
Oh, excuse me.
Resolved value. And here we're passing our success response.
Gotcha.
So by default, our query will be resolved successfully. Right now, where we are creating wrapper, let's create also a constant fake Apollo. So, yeah.
Say fake Apollo?
Let fake Apollo. Yeah, I mean, call it fake Apollo, not the const. Make it let because we will be nullifying it in after each just to make sure we're not messing things.
Okay.
Fake Apollo, right.
Gotcha.
And right before we are shallow mounting the component, let's assign to fake Apollo. So fake Apollo, yeah, right before this one, just, yeah, because we're returning it.
Yeah, I was doing a return.
So awesome. So that's fake Apollo is equal to create mock Apollo. So we are creating an instance now.
I see where you're going.
And here we are passing an array, right? An array of arrays.
That's right.
And we will have only one element here, where first is query. Yes, not query handler. Here we have a query itself. So it's like get, issue, whatever query. A GraphQL one, GraphQL document. So it will be get whatever you imported there on the top. Get time logs,
gotcha.
Get issue time log.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the second argument here will be a handler for this query. So query handler.
Okay.
And right now we created it, but our view instance has no idea about the thing. So after local view, we will need to add Apollo provider. And this will be our fake Apollo.
Okay.
If I remember everything correct, I should, because I mean, every single time I'm doing this, sometimes I still fail. So let's run the test and see where we did fail, because probably there is something we're missing. Okay, can read property query of undefined in something defined. Okay, let's see where I bet this will go about our time log, this issuable type query. So issuable type is issue. Interesting, because this should be fine. Time log queries, this issue.
I see. So you think it's not finding this?
Exactly.
Do we need to inject this somehow?
I think there is a provide in our test.
Oh, there
is.
Excuse me. It's totally there.
It's actually showing the correct one there. But let's, just in case, in our query, let's make a console log to see why it's complaining about this.
Do you want me to log issuable
I'm
type?
just doing,
or the whole thing?
Yes, we can just do time log, console log the time log queries, issue this issuable type. I'm just wondering why it's, yeah.
I have a little extension I use that makes finding logs
That's
really
perfect.
easy.
Awesome.
That's called Turbo Log, in case anyone is interested.
Absolutely.
Yep. So what do we
See.
have in the console?
Undefined, just like you thought.
What
Okay,
does, what does just time log queries log as?
time log queries is basically just a constant that contains a mapping for different issuable types. So let's
see what issuable type is.
should be issue,
Should be.
I guess.
This issue, yes.
One small
Great.
thing, try to make issue lowercase on the left side where we provided, because I don't remember if it's lowercase or not, because we have like two different things.
Yeah, I was so confused. Like
There we
when
go.
I was
Oh, yeah.
building the GraphQL, and some of them
call.
are camel case, and some of them
Yes,
are
yes,
snake
I'm really
case
sorry
and
for this.
kebab case. And
But good. So we right now, at least we have our test passing. That means we didn't fail with all the scaffolding. And Justin, on the left side, could you also add after each fake Apollo is null, because we need to nullify the client
Roger
every
that.
single time, just to make sure we're clear.
Gotcha.
Yep. Awesome. So component is mounting. This is a huge win already with all the
awesome.
preparations.
Yeah. Great
All right.
work.
So let's go ahead and sign off right there. Great job, everybody.
So let's start testing our loading state.
Nice. All right. So it's initialization. Okay, so I usually, by habit, I always start all of my component specs just the name of the component. There's like
Yeah,
There's an
that's-
outer a
I
describe
think-
with the component. Is there?
I
or
think
is it-
it's on the top level
It
described, right?
is.
Yes.
All right, cool. So we can just go straight to testing.
Let's just make it like small it cases, then we can just
Sure.
join them on the describe. Yeah, it
Cool.
should render loading spinner, right?
Yeah,
When loading.
I like it.
So let's create a component here. I think we don't need to provide anything specific to props amount component. Yeah, sorry.
Is that what we called it?
No, I think we don't need, what do we need to pass? Nothing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
Oh, it does
anything. If
automatically.
you look at the
Forgive
example
me.
just
Forgive
above,
me.
yeah.
Yep.
I've put
So-
props in there because I'm assuming we might want to use them at some point. But
Sure.
That's true. So at the current moment, we should have loading state. So let's check the template and see what do we need to search for. I guess it's loading spinner. Yes, exactly. So this is kind of,
Loading icon.
yep. We can use find component. We can use like whatever you prefer.
yeah.
Well-
to just search for it. You can add rep or class, or I mean, Justin, this is up to you. How you
Yeah.
prefer to search for any kind of components.
We're going to do what most people would expect to do. We're going to go ahead and just import GL loading icon and create a find component helper for that. 'Cause
Perfect.
Hey,
I assume we'll probably use it later.
One of the few things I've done before. So yeah, that sounds like a good approach.
no, it won't work there. I think it will work
No?
only after we created a wrapper, because we will be searching for wrapper. No.
Oh yeah. Okay. So yes, we can. So I'm going to type how I would normally do this, and then we'll do it the way
Okay.
we probably should do it for. Well, this is actually a pretty good discussion point because Natalia and I have had these conversations before where I have a kind of a disagreement with writing tests the way that we do. And specifically, for example, in my case, I would do something like this where I pass in the wrapper directly and then return wrapper dot find component GL loading
Right.
icon. And that's just a preference for me because I don't like reaching outside of the function into a global-ish state for anything.
It can be
But-
totally done. I don't think that we have any strict preference for any.
But it
You can leave it as it is. It's
But in here,
But
you can
it-
access
it-
wrapper directly. Is
right.
that the kind of?
But it does add some boilerplate when you do something like find GL
Yeah.
or find loading icon. You have to pass your wrapper in. So for now, in this case, but I also would have returned the wrapper outside of this mount component and consume it that way. But that's just a personal preference. and it's not super necessary. So we'll clean this up and make it a little.
Is that would that be considered, I don't know, more solid or something kind of?
It's a little more functional type sort of, because I'm not reaching outside of the scope of the function. I'm passing everything into it that it needs. And that's just a personal preference. I find it easier to debug and reason about, but a lot of people get really upset about having to pass wrapper every single time or create a new wrapper and mount component.
Gotcha.
To quote someone much smarter than me, it's just typing. But generally speaking, they're both acceptable approaches, and this is
Gotcha.
much more in line with how most of the tests I see at GitLab are written. So we'll leave it here. So we'll say.
So we expect find loading icon to exist, basically, right?
Exactly. I like it. And we broke something.
What?
Destroyed component are discouraged. Okay. That's interesting.
Where we did destroy component and didn't create. I mean, we should have create. And we're.
I
mean,
oh no. Okay, so it's not
wrapper.
actually setting.
We forgot to assign, right?
Yep. There we go. So it's funny. It was actually set up the way that I like it, and then I didn't do it.
That's why I told you just follow your path. Don't fall into the. Okay. So it's not rendering. Let's see what is not.
Let me double check my.
It actually renders the spinner. It fails a different test.
Return something defined. What is this?
I mean, we can just delete this first spec because it's expect wrapper to be defined.
Oh.
On the first one, and we did not create. We just reassigned the wrappers.
Gotcha,
I can think.
Yeah.
I believe we don't need this describe anyway right now.
I agree, because it's implicitly tested the second you do another test.
Yep.
Yeah.
So loading spinner exists from what I can see.
Yay.
Okay, awesome. Now so this is like good. Now let's also create a second test that should resolve our query, and we will expect some results to be rendered. I mean, should render the results after the successful call or something like this. We just want to make sure that it works.
Success. Is that
spinner's gone, and we've got something.
For this, we will need one more import. We will need wait for promises, because we will need to wait until this one is resolved.
It's not
from test utils. It's our helpers, I guess. Let me quickly check. Okay, where it is. So wait for promises is a default import from helpers. Wait for promises.
I see right here.
Yeah, that's what I do when I'm searching for wait for promises, like every single time.
The more I type, the more mistakes I make. So I try to type as little as possible. We'll clean those up later.
Yeah. So everyone hates Vitaly right now for ordered imports.
What? No. Oh, why is that? Why would we? Was this your rule?
It's like I really hate just order my imports every single time. I know this is like it looks better, but
there we go.
So let's again mount component. We are not going to change anything so far. And what we want to do right now, we will be waiting for promises until our query is resolved here. I think this is asynchronous one, so we need to async or wait for it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We are awaiting wait for promises. And again, looking at the template, maybe let's add some kind of identifier to the row where we are rendering the results. I know some kind of that data test ID maybe. I just don't want.
Find this.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you prefer. If you want to find by text, it's fine as well. But we will need to check that we will have. How many do we have? Three different times it rendered for this one.
Sure.
So
Yeah. So, and we could. So I actually have a pretty strong dislike for using test ID, and I try to avoid it whenever possible. And something here left to my own devices, I would use get by role and try to find this text here, assuming we can, because we have control of the data coming back here. I would do a
Yeah.
get by role and then find a name equal to this username. But without using the extended wrapper, we'd have to bring in another library, yet another library, which I'm personally okay with. And what is it? Testing library DOM. All right. So here, this would look like get by role.
I think my main dislike with the whole data test ID is it almost always duplicates an identifier that's already on the object. You know, most of the time there's already an ID. There's quite often a QA identifier and a test identifier, and they're all the same.
Yeah, my issue, I have a general issue with putting things into production code that are exclusively for testing. It just rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, I was surprised it wasn't, I don't know what the word is, but removed when you build the production code, to be honest. I didn't expect it to be there.
Okay,
so we should have John Doe 18. How many times? 1, 2. I think it's all of them. There should be 3 records of John Doe, right? Oh no, there is also administrator. So let's make sure that we have 2 of John Does and I think 2 of administrator, right?
Right. So I'm actually changing this to get all by role because get implicitly implies that you should only have 1.
Okay.
So here we'll put John's name in there. Also by preference, I use regex them so I can make them case insensitive, but personal preference.
Cool.
That get on my row. So now we should have, I think we need the length from that. Expect length.
I mean, it can be to have length.
Oh, thank you. That is so much better. That is definitely the better way to do that. Thank you for that.
That's a thing that I annoy people for weeks on merge requests nitpicks.
Cool.
Okay, so we have 2 John Does. Let's do the same one for administrator. So make sure we render all the results we have.
Cool. Oh,
okay.
3 of them.
Oh, it's 3 of them.
We miscounted. That's okay.
It's good. It's good. We have different numbers, so it's like
we know that the test. The amount of times I've been playing with tests and found out they were never actually working. They were false positives.
Yeah, so it's great because we just tested it.
Always good to write a failing test before you write a.
So right now, let's check also that at least for the right now we're testing only 1 of 2 possible queries. To give a bit of context to Justin, this component will be working with 2 different queries, 1 for merge request, 1 for issue. Currently, we're only testing issue because we provided only a handler for issue and we set issuable type to issue, right?
Okay.
This is so what we can also do, I believe when we're still here, we can add 1 more small test to make sure that correct handler is called for our issue query. So even before we have loading, I think we can say it calls correct query for issue.
Okay. You want to put it up top here is what you're implying?
Because again, our component makes a selection of queries and we need to make sure that it's not calling the merge request query for issue, for example, because what if we did a mistake on our mapping?
Okay.
So basically we want to make sure that our handler was called. So what we can do here, we can either move our query handler we provide to the mount component to a constant outside of it, or we can just pass an additional constant in our test case, whatever you prefer. Because right now it's like query handler is defined only in mount component. So we can move it to the constant above and just pass it there if you want.
Query handler? Oh, sure.
Yeah, query handler. because we need to make sure that has been called.
Right.
So
Okay. I see where you're going. That makes sense.
Yep, exactly. Yep, exactly. And we just,
I was just say for those following along at home, this is just so that we have access to this later. Did I do something wrong here?
yeah, why it's complaining? I wonder, because it was correct one, I guess. Why? What is saying on the linter? What is the error there?
Oh, it's because we're redeclaring the
Oh yeah,
Gotcha. So we need to rename the constant.
success query handler.
Thank you. I like that a lot.
Because we will also have an error one.
Oops.
So this is
Cool.
so cool. Yep. By default, we want it to be successful. I like this approach. Success by default. So right now, let's make sure in our test case that
I think I have. Do I have this backwards? No. Oh,
No.
it's my fault. It needs to be. I was getting confused by all my.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that catches me out all the time.
I was overwhelmed by curly braces and just. Okay.
So okay, now let's make sure that success query handler is called.
So
For
do I need to await promises for that too, or?
No, I think it's called right when you create the
Okay.
component, so it should be there.
Expect
It's not resolved, but the handler should be involved already, I think.
query
Query handler
to have
been called.
Yoink. Huge success.
Awesome.
The suspense. I mean, after this,
Okay.
when we will be expanding it, we can probably separate success issue query handler, success merge request. But for now, it's just, let's make sure that it's called. And finally, let's make sure that when it's rejected, we have some kind of error. I think we will need to implement the error handling first.
Gotcha. Yeah, we can do that. Error message on reject.
I'm not sure what the UI for this should be, because I don't think we had any input from UX. For now, we can just make a create flash, I think.
Yeah.
Not a big fan because this is kind of deprecated, but we need to test something. We can render error message if you prefer.
Oh geez. We have 13 minutes. It's
Okay.
gonna be faster.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go with. Oh yeah, that's kind of gross. I don't like
Just
doing that either.
don't not deprecate, please. Please.
What?
Just make it not deprecated create flash.
I will fix it. I will fix it. I promise. Just Natalia, look away for like 2 seconds. I'll fix it.
Okay.
Don't. It's all gonna be fine.
Okay, let's make create flash.
Close.
So where to call create flash? In Apollo, where we have query variables and update, there will be also an error hook. So just add it right below. Yep, error. And when we have any kind of error, let's just create flash. No, we don't need even to pass anything. We just need on any kind of error, we want to create flash with some abstract text.
Oh geez.
Something went wrong.
Yeah, if
when
I type
fetching
this,
time
it's
logs.
gonna get real engineering real quick. Error port 111011. There you go. I have no idea.
Even not the droid. There wasn't work.
Just something went wrong. This should do. Try again.
I think we can do marginally better. Hold on. Why is this upset?
It's upset because it's not,
because we're not
localized.
Yeah. There we go. My bad. Thank you. I always forget the localization every single time.
That's because English is your first language.
I know, how American of me. That's so ugly. What is it? I don't remember the import.
I always remember to do it. I just forget to run the rake task.
It's underscore
to update
from
the,
locale.
Locale,
Do underscores from locale. Yeah. Just search for locale. Should be fine.
Okay, that's really better.
and find some JavaScript or view file. Yeah.
Oh, here,
here we
it's
go.
just a tilde. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
That should be good.
Am I not already using that? I'm sure.
If
I'm
you're
sure.
using it in the template, it's globally available, so you
Yeah,
wouldn't have
it's
to.
already there.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. So now we're good there. Everybody's happy.
Is create flash moaning because it's no longer an exported, or is it actually happy?
What happened
The
there? That
imports
took too long. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that we're okay with.
So right now, what we will need to do in our test, why it's okay, it's fine. So right now we will need to provide a different query handler in this case. So in our mount component, no, it's here, it's fine. So let's go to our test case, the last one.
Okay.
I don't need to edit. We will need to just mock create flash, but we will do it in a second.
Sure.
So first, let's just create a correct component. So in our test case where we mounting the component, let's provide a query handler.
Oh yeah.
In curly braces. Yes, query handler. And this will be just a fan mock rejected value. Rejected, yeah. Whatever, we don't care what you put there. I mean, empty string.
There's fine. Okay.
Yeah. Again, we will need to wait for promises in this particular case.
Promises.
Yeah, sync one.
Okay.
Awesome. And right now we will need to mock create flash and make sure that it's called here.
Right.
I don't remember how to mock create flash. I search it every single time.
It's like, and now Natalia will tell me how to mock create flash.
I mean, I can sneaky check on the code base.
I'll race you. I think it's basically import.
It's import create flash from flash and then just mock flash.
Exactly. Same thing. We'll say just mock flash. Right. Big old cheat. Whoa. Hey, calm down. Okay, hold on. I want this actually at the top just because I'm a little picky.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. When I do just mocks, it's like right after imports. Otherwise, I'm getting lost with all the mocks I have.
I believe you can technically put it anywhere. Please don't do that.
So let's make sure that create flash is called.
So is that essentially just kind of putting almost a firewall, a wall up in front of that method, and then when it's called, you can sort of test that it has been called?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, it's not called. Finally, we have something that went wrong. Perfect.
I feel like plenty has gone wrong. Create flash is not a function.
Why it's not a function? Okay, show me.
It's because it's deprecated create flash, right?
No.
Do you think it's? Let me quickly check.
I don't think create flash exists anymore.
Seriously?
I think it's default import, not a named one. I think it's default import now. Yeah.
We are looking. Where's our export? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's default. So let's change it both in the component and in the test to the default one. Yep, and here as well. And I think with this, we will need to change create flash syntax in the error hook in the component because it has an object, not a string that we're doing in the component on the right side, where you call in create flash an error hook. It should have a message property, I think. So it's like, it's not a string, but it's an object with message, something went wrong.
Okay.
And you can just search for how it looks like on some other component. Sorry for overwhelming you.
Oh, no, we're good. We're good. Keep it coming. So somebody else does it as.
Yep. Just in the view component, maybe.
I'm trying to find one that doesn't say deprecated flash.
Oh yeah, it's here. See, it's right here in the notes. So let's search for the usage of this
It
one.
does
See,
have a
it's
message.
messaged. Yeah.
Sweet.
Perfect.
See, it's
Good.
messaged. Yeah.
Sweet.
Perfect. Good job, Natalia.
I mean, I've been caught by this multiple times. Yeah, good. So right now, our create flash should have been called test.
Does that take
What?
too long again? Is it because,
Oh,
is
yeah.
it because it's
Close.
I'm not sure this because of client. For some reason, it's just really heavy. For me, usually, even if I test more like bigger components, like I test with assignees, it works fine. But
that's so
what is your?
it's passing the error. It's failing on the success one now.
Yeah, because it takes too long for some reason for the success. I wonder why. But okay, I mean, at least we know it's passing in general. But good, it's
Okay.
Oh.
That
Man.
makes me really uncomfortable.
I know, right?
Mhm.
So right now we have covered all the basic functionality, at least for issue. This is already a good sufficient spec. For merge request, we will need only to define a second response and create a separate describe, copy paste whatever we have here, and make sure that merge request query is called when we have an issuable type merge request. So,
Sure.
okay, we can only check the first one. So when you have this like calls correct query for issue, let's copy paste this one.
Sure.
Right. Okay. So, but for this, we will need to import a different query, and we will need to define the same, maybe a slightly different handler for it.
Okay.
So
I want to
let's.
go to this.
So let's. Yeah,
Is it going to be in this same file?
Cool. Mm-hmm.
Well, get MR. Yeah, so same file. Sorry, no. Get so it's get merge MR time log.
Get MR time. I don't understand.
I think.
Open the constants on the right side. You have opened constants.js, and there is time logs for merge request. So it should be get merge request.
Few
MR
lines
time
down,
logs.
3 lines down. That's it.
Yeah,
Bingo.
27 one.
That one there.
Copy paste the whole import.
This whole thing.
Good. Yes. Not the whole thing.
No.
Awesome. So we have MR time logs. Right now, what we can do, where we are defining as success response, we can just leave it as it is. Luckily, we have the same shape for two responses. That's why they're usable in the component. But where we are creating success query handler, let's rename success query handler into success issue query handler.
Sure.
Here and everywhere. So it's like just add issue. And right below it, we will create success MR query handler with the same success response, because response is identical for both.
Got it.
Awesome. And right now, let's go back to our new test case we created just below. Yeah. And in the mount component, we will need to specify a prop. I'm not sure we're passing issuable type. No, we're not passing issuable type, right? It's constant. So again, sorry. Yeah, we need to pass. This is not props. It's actually provide. So we can just pass issuable type as one more property, right?
Yes.
Right. Where are we passing query handler? Right. After this, let's also pass issuable type.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, have I got any props? Should we just get rid of props in the?
We can get rid of them. Yeah.
Just if it's making your line get too long, Justin.
No, but that's fine. We can. Here, I got you.
No. And here you will need to provide issuable type.
Everything's fine.
Where there is an issuable ID, you still need to provide issuable type. No. You did. It was fine. Where is a provide?
Oh, I did.
With
sorry.
issue. Yeah.
I deleted the whole thing.
Yeah, add it back.
Bad.
Okay. Let's save and make sure that everything is okay.
Good call. That's a pro tip right there, everybody.
No, what happened?
Issuable type not found.
There is a typo there. Issuable.
What did I do?
Yeah, you don't need the E, I think.
Oop, sorry.
Ooh, come back. You have
Just get rid of the E.
It's
That's it.
issue.
And the one above is up. Bingo,
Yeah.
hopefully.
How embarrassing.
Hey, let's get back to success.
Good job, native English speaker.
It's Texas one. So okay, this is
that's
good.
that's
And
how
right
well
now,
we spell it. Yeah.
let's go back to our MR, and
Hmm.
we need also to pass issuable type, which is
Right.
merge request. In mount component,
Yes.
let's pass issuable type, which is merge request.
Is it camel cased? Like so?
I
If
think
knew.
it will be, yeah.
Mm.
If issue is, then that will
Let's
be as
make-
well.
Let's make a check.
Yeah.
And of course,
Yeah.
there should be not an issue, but a mark query handler. Yes, to have been
Right.
called. Let's
Okay.
go and check.
So if I save this, it should fail, right?
I think it will fail right now because we didn't define
Right.
this in fake Apollo, but let's check, right?
Yeah.
Good,
Cool.
it's failing. Why it fails? 2 more additional tests, but okay, it's not merge request, I think. Cannot see property query of undefined. So I will make a quick check of sidebar constants here. And actually issuable type. So where it is, issuable type, issuable type, epic. Where are our issuable types? Just trying to find out what is merge request there.
I don't understand why those other two are failing. Why is loading spinner failing right now? We didn't change that.
So merge request is snake cased. First of all,
Okay.
it still needs to fail, but let's make sure.
Right.
Yep. Let's see. It still should fail because we didn't define a handler for this
Right.
query.
But I don't understand why loading. Never mind. I don't know why these are passing now.
Me
But
neither.
I'll take it.
I mean, we're destroying the wrapper, so it shouldn't
Yeah.
be dependent. So okay, good. It failed.
Mhm.
Let's go back to our Apollo one. And when
Yeah.
you do this get issue time logs query handler, let's also
Mhm.
create a second one.
Oh,
So
okay.
we have
I got you. Oh, so it'll
No,
do.
no,
I'm sorry. It'll do
just-
both.
yes,
And
exactly.
An array of arrays.
it's going to be another array, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, get MR time logs query.
I see where this.
Okay,
is
for now
going.
it's query handler as well, which is not correct. We should separate them, but for now it's like, let's just make a check
Sure.
if it's fine. So whatever we pass here.
Okay. All right. I think I see where we're going with this, but we will
Mhm.
follow it to its conclusion because I also need to pass in the correct query handler now. Yeah.
No, I think, yeah,
Is it
correct.
that, yeah. What do we call it? Success. I don't remember. There we go. I don't know how I would get by without my autocomplete. Cool.
Yep.
That makes sense. But now I kind of feel like we shouldn't be passing in.
Yes, we should. I
query
mean, I
handler.
was expecting only one. That's why we went with this right from the
Yeah.
start. So they should be separate, but I think we are a bit over time right now.
We are.
Yes, but it's good because we wrote a sufficient test case for this
Sure.
component. It just need to be polished to separate two handlers. And
Mhm.
this is even a bit excessive, but I really want to make sure that we're calling correct one for merge request.
Sure.
So this was, I think, like a bit of magic for Justin because you start to test Apollo before you worked with Apollo, which is like, I have no idea what I'm doing here, but okay.
We made it though.
But yes.
So I don't know if this is putting you on the spot too much, but one of the questions that I always have to remind myself is about what a component spec should actually be testing and what it shouldn't be testing.
Template, always rendered template, always aim to check what is rendered. Because if you try to set check methods computed whatever in
Mhm.
isolation, there is always a chance that your calculation is completely correct and your test is passing, but when you start rendering them in the template, you forgot to add it there. You forgot to add a condition to the template. Test is passing, calculation is correct, template is wrong, because you're not testing the end result there. Because if you think about it, every view component is a render function that returns the template, the rendered template,
Yep.
a set of v nodes. And we want to test the end result to make sure that nothing had failed on the previous calculations.
So in terms of how far you go with that, like, you know, we're testing here that we're getting 2 Johns and 2 administrators, which is great. You know, we don't have to go so far to say that we're getting,
No.
you know, certain times and
No.
amount.
You can stop with selecting not a
Just
rendered text.
one thing
just,
that you're expecting to be rendered.
Yep.
If
And
it's
we
being
don't go
rendered.
into child components as well, because we don't want to see what child component is rendering. This is kind of like outside of the scope of the test. We want to make sure that we pass correct props to childs, right? Because this is the contract. So you have a child component, it has contract. Its contract is props and emitted events. So on the parent, you want to make sure, okay, I'm passing correct scene there and passing correct props to the child. I don't care what it's rendered. It's a responsibility of the child component, but contracts should be tested.
So would I need to potentially throw a spec together to show that this is being mounted and the right things are being injected, or?
No, so injection is not a responsibility of this component as well. This is a responsibility of the JavaScript that starts it. And honestly, this is even the responsibility of the backend to provide correct values from there. So we're usually not testing what is injected.
Awesome. I'm not, not going to contradict that. Perfect. Okay, great. So Justin, do you want to sort of polish a bit more, or do you want to just push that up and leave me to it now? Or
I actually think it's in a pretty good state, because I would like to leave it for you to do the cleanup Natalia said as like an exercise. And I'll just push it up this way and let you take it the rest of the way.
Amazing. Awesome.
I was going to say ping me if something is wrong, but I just remember that next week I'm on vacation. So ping Justin, David, and all the people around. I'm disabling all the notifications from GitLab for the week.
Awesome. No, that's brilliant. It's passing. So as you say, it'd be nice for me to put an MR response in there. And other than that, we're pretty good.
Oh, great stuff.
Yeah, that was excellent, Natalia. Thank you.
That was a super.
It's you, so thank you for running it and writing the test.
Sorry, David. We'll get to your CSS and VS Code thing eventually. I promise.
No, that's an exercise in futility. This is actually something useful.
Awesome.
Great. Thanks very much.
Alrighty.
Have a good weekend, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
It's just me and you now, Justin. Thanks for driving that one. That was pretty awesome. It's
Oh,
always
sure.
it's always a bit like, oh God, now everyone's gonna know I can't code.